there's more and more research that people could kind of give to their physios or people at school to be like, hey, look, research shows I can do some shit. Is there people that you'd say, hey, strength coaches listening out there, go find these people?
Well, again, it very much depends on what area and what problems you want to look into. But if you're talking something like back pain, to get a alternative approach to the most common narrative out there, we're talking Stu McGill, spinal stability, super stiffness, and all that sort of things to reduce risks of back pain. The contrary side of that, the alternative side of that, the research I'd recommend is reading stuff around Peter O'Sullivan. So Peter O'Sullivan did his cognitive functional therapy approach, which is a much more patient-centered, individualized approach, looking at not just the biomechanics, but also, the lifestyle factors and things around it. So I'd definitely recommend, some reading of Peter O'Sullivan's background there for back pain, and another really useful paper that I found was some of Michelle Hazenbring's work. And she is a psychologist who worked a lot in people with phobias, and she then started to branch into pain, and she started to realize that there tends to be two types of approach of strategies of dealing with pain avoidance or pain endurance. So we're either avoidance copers or endurance copers, and I find that some of her work has been really useful in helping me clinically reason which type of approach is probably better to take for the person in front of me based on their strategy that they've adopted for this current situation that they're in. So again, pain avoidance and pain endurance coping are two very useful sort of strategies that people have, and say Michelle Hazenbring's work has been very good on that.
No, those are awesome. I wrote those down. I think other people will. Sticking down with what you said, it depends. For any of our listeners out there that may be young and they're continuing to learn, what is the simple Monday...
it should be the old people as well. They should also be listening.
True.
And also learning.
True. You're right. I'm sorry. What would be it's Friday right now. What would be hey, someone's going to listen to this and then they go to work on Monday. What would be that Monday morning explanation of the difference between a parse fracture and a spondy, right? Like, let's talk, we'll stick with the back, and then we could talk a bulge that went, anterior, posterior, and lateral and whatnot.
So the clinical difference is going to be very minimal, between those two presentations. So you're probably going to struggle to have any strong certainty that you're dealing with one type of pathology over the other unless you get some imaging there. But the question I have is, do you need to have that imaging to be able to direct your management and treatment? Because they don't really have any specific treatments. Because normally with a spondy or a pars articularis defect, it's normally graded activity and return back into the things they can't do that governs how we manage them. It's not really the pathology. It's their presentations of their pains and their problems. The only thing you've got to be concerned about is that there could be a other secondary differential diagnosis which might be a little bit more serious and sinister, that might need some further interventions, either some surgical interventions. So if you've got something that is unstable or, God forbid, tumorous or cancerous, mimicking any of these conditions, then obviously the sooner that's addressed and rectified, the better. But if you've got none of those sort of serious glaring concerns, then does it matter whether you're treating somebody with a spondy versus somebody with a pars articularis defect? And the simple answer is 99% of the time, no. Because that isn't what governs how you progress them or regress them. It's their reaction and their symptoms that they have or don't have on the tasks and activities you ask them to do. So that's my approach a lot of the time. Now, I don't need a specific diagnosis to help people. I have my suspicions a lot of the time in everybody. That's part of the clinical reasoning process. But it doesn't mean that if I'm uncertain, it doesn't mean I can't proceed with helping people.
For anybody that has for your own case too, that has the radicular nerve pain, or do you recommend taking, prescriptions of gabapentin or things to help with the pain, or no? Like, I'm curious on the smile. So
so my personal experience here was quite interesting. So, when I was awake every 45 minutes during the night because of this neuropathic pain, and it was really fucking unpleasant, I thought, I've got to try and get some sleep. So I want to get something to get this pain under control. So I went and spoke to my doctor, and they suggested these neuropathic painkillers, and I tried them for a couple of weeks, and they made absolutely fuck all difference. I had minimal positive experiences with any of these neuropathic painkillers. So I didn't get a very good response, but I've heard other people say they were like magic. They significantly reduced their pain a lot. Why they didn't work for me, I have got no real strong ideas. You know, maybe it was because of the type of nerve root issue. I think with maybe more the mechanical compressions rather than inflammatory compressions. So if you've got a disc prolapse or a part of the disc that's compressing mechanically onto the nerve root, I don't think the neuropathic painkillers are going to be as effective as if you've got some sort of inflammatory irritation to the nerve root. That may be a reason why, but that's just a guess. But no, I think, you know, when you're trying to get pain under control, again, there are lots of different options for you. Pain can be modulated in some really unusual ways a lot of the time, you know, and it's not only analgesia and pharmacology that can do that. Movement can be a great painkiller. You know, massage, manipulations, they can be great painkillers, but that's all you're doing is you're playing around with the symptoms. So I often tell people, you know, it's not about, you know, just trying one, it's sometimes trying a number of them, seeing which one gives you the best bang for your buck with less side effects. So, you know, experiment when you've got these type of symptoms and see what works for you. For me, the one that worked well for me after experimenting a lot of the times, hot baths and a glass of red wine.
Fucking right.
Fucking magic, mate. Absolutely reduced my pain the most. I mean, temporarily, wasn't anything lasting long periods of time, but just gave me those 2 or 3 hours of significant pain reduction. So if anybody wants my cure for radiculopathy, hot baths and red wine.
How about traction? Do you use, and again, I'm assuming the answer is going to be depends, but traction at the lower extremity or upper?
It does depend, but it has, again, very short-lasting effects, and those effects are probably not worth the time, energy, and costs of going to get it. So, you know, it's that cost-reward ratio. You know, I think, you know, the risk-reward ratio as well, but there's also costs, time, energy, effort, etc. And I think a lot of the time with these type of manual therapy, traction-type treatments, there's a lot of time to get a small lasting effect that just doesn't seem to be worth it for me.
And then the last one that I've read research on and have, you know, tried to push for anybody is the sensory deprivation float tanks. I like them, have used them. What are your, again, I'm assuming it's going to be depends and case by case, but just want to hear your opinion on it.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.